my middle child, this was last summer. Last summer, every summer she has to go with her dad. We're no longer together. And she's with him over half the summer, unfortunately. And usually she's taken to his parents' house. But he has a new wife and she doesn't like his parents. So they took my daughter away from her grandparents. And they put her with a babysitter. Someone I didn't know. Someone my daughter didn't know. They didn't even tell me. My daughter had to tell me she was at a babysitter's. And while she's at the babysitter's, she is on a VR chat on the virtual reality headset. And I don't know how often VR chat is talked about, but it's definitely something I think that people need to hear, because what happened on there was like the epitome of evil. You know, it was just awful and disgusting. And I've always taught my kids to tell a trusted adult. Unfortunately for her, that meant she had to wait until she was home to tell me, because she didn't trust her dad and his wife enough to tell them what happened. So she's on the virtual reality headset in VR chat, and she goes into this mansion, and you know, it's a virtual reality mansion, and she steps inside it, and there's all these screens. She says it's like TVs on the wall of the mansion. There's big screens, and on these screens there is child videos of little kids around the age of 4, mostly girls, being R-worded. And as you can imagine, that's very traumatizing for anyone, but especially for a little girl who at the time was 9, almost 10. And so she is in therapy. I did want to say that. She's in therapy because I know, even though she seemed kind of okay after she was crying, she's a tough cookie, you know. I know that even though she seemed okay, that these types of things can have lasting effects in ways we don't even realize. So I made sure that she was in therapy, not only because of what she saw, but because after I told her father and his wife, they didn't believe her. And they started to blame me, and then they started to blame her. And it was awful. And so it was a very traumatic experience for her. So she is in therapy. But in order to prove to her father that she wasn't making it up, I went searching, and I found a Reddit post that aligned with the date that she would have seen this stuff. And this guy was saying that he was on VR chat, and he went into this mansion that popped up. And there were screens. Sounds a lot like what she saw, right? And on these screens was what he described as dark web shit. So he was seeing murders, tortures, animals being tortured and killed, humans being tortured and killed. Just the epitome of evil, the darkest stuff that you don't see on the internet usually, you know. And he said he had a feeling he knew what was next, meaning he had a feeling there would be child stuff. So he was like, okay, I'm getting out of here. This is really screwed up. And as he was clicking off, he heard someone in the chat say, oh, that's just a kid. And he knew then that they were about to show, or that they were just starting to show children. And someone else agreed in the comments, yep, I saw it all too. And you're not a liar. I was there too. I saw this. So then I had to screenshot all of that and send it to her father to prove that he or she wasn't lying, that there were other people that on that day saw terrible, awful things, including, children. And so I don't know if VR chat is ever talked about by too many people, but it is definitely something that I feel should be talked about a little bit more. Of course, Roblox is talked about a lot because it's more aimed at children, but there are definitely children on VR chat, and pretty much anywhere where there's some form of chat, there's going to be predators and there's going to be kids. Even in adult only like forums kids are able to get in, even using their parents' accounts or whatever. And I just felt like it was a good idea to say something. This is another story about Roblox. It happened maybe 2 weeks ago, and a story about VR chat. And I have no doubt, even though she didn't talk to anyone, seeing what she had seen, it's apparent there's a lot of sickos on there, and they would not think twice to talk to a kid and try to do twisted, awful things. Because again, I don't think VR chat is talked about as much, and unfortunately it needs to be. And also, you know, the fact that it's not just people talking, these videos are being posted on pretty big platforms. You would assume if you went on VR chat, you wouldn't ever see something like that. But unfortunately, it happens. And thank you again for all that you do.